The cards had fallen perfectly, or so Boone Carter thought. He clutched the deed in his weathered hands, the paper still warm from Sterling Maddox's desperate grip moments before. Boone had won a ranch in a high-stakes poker game in Millerville, but something about Maddox's sly smile as he surrendered everything gnawed at him. A man who'd lost it all should have been broken, yet Maddox's eyes glinted with secrets that twisted Boone's gut. Mounting his horse, he rode down the dusty main street, the deed tucked safely in his vest pocket, questions simmering in his mind. 3 days of hard riding brought him to the edge of his new property, a sprawling valley where rolling hills met untouched land. The ranch house nestled against a grove of cottonwoods, smoke curling from its chimney in the late afternoon heat. Someone was home. Boone dismounted, his boots thudding on the weathered porch steps. The front door stood slightly ajar, and through the gap, he caught movement inside. A young woman's voice drifted out, humming a haunting melody that stirred something in his memory. He knocked twice, the sound sharp in the stillness. The humming stopped. Footsteps approached, and the door swung wide to reveal a girl, no older than 20, with dark hair pinned back and eyes blazing with a fierceness that made Boone step back. Her worn blue dress belied the strength in her posture. "You must be lost, mister," she said, her voice steady despite the surprise flickering across her face. "Name's Boone Carter. I'm the new owner of this property." He pulled out the deed, expecting her to step aside with apologies. Instead, her expression hardened like forged steel. "There's been a mistake," she said, crossing her arms. "This ranch isn't for sale and never was. Sterling Maddox had no right to bet what wasn't his." Boone studied the deed again, its signatures and stamps pristine and official. Yet this girl, Coraline, Cora, she'd called herself, stood with unshakable conviction, as if she held a truth that could unravel his victory. "According to this, I own everything from the creek to the eastern ridge, including this house," he said, keeping his tone calm, though tension crept into his shoulders. Cora stepped onto the porch, slamming the door behind her. "Then you'll have to take it from me, because I'm not leaving. I have proof that makes your paper worthless." The sun cast long shadows as they faced each other, neither yielding. Boone searched her face for deception but found only fierce determination. She wasn't bluffing, not like the men he'd faced across countless poker tables. "What kind of proof?" he asked, his voice steady despite the frustration rising in his chest. Cora's eyes narrowed. "The kind that proves Sterling Maddox was a thief and a liar. But I'm not showing it to a stranger who rides up with stolen papers." She stepped closer, her lavender soap scent mingling with the honest smell of hard work. "How do I know you didn't forge that deed yourself?" The accusation stung. Boone had built his reputation on skill, not cheating. "I won this fair and square 3 nights ago in Millerville," he said, pride sharpening his words. "Maddox bet everything on a pair of kings. The game was witnessed by a dozen men, including the sheriff." Cora's composure cracked, a flicker of shock crossing her face. "Sterling Maddox was in Millerville 3 nights ago?" she asked, her voice tight. "You sound surprised. When did you last see him?" She turned to the porch railing, gripping it until her knuckles whitened. 6 months ago. He said he was leaving for good, that the memories here were too much." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I thought he was gone forever." Boone sensed a deeper history between Cora and Maddox, one that went beyond property lines. "What memories?" he asked, stepping closer. Before she could answer, the sound of hooves thundered across the valley. 3 riders crested the hill, kicking up dust. Cora's face paled. "That's Sheriff Wallace," she whispered, her earlier defiance fading. "Sterling must have told him you'd be coming." The sheriff dismounted, his weathered face etched with hard decisions. 2 men flanked him, their hands near their guns, looking like hired muscle. "Mr. Carter, I presume," Wallace said, his voice heavy with authority. "Sterling Maddox said there might be trouble with the transition." "No trouble on my end," Boone replied, showing the deed. This is legal. Wallace examined it with professional thoroughness, then handed it back. Looks in order. Mississippi Lane, time to pack your things and move along. This is my home, Cora said, her voice trembling with rage. My family built this ranch. Sterling Maddox stole it. That's a serious claim, Wallace said, unimpressed. Got documentation? Cora's silence was deafening, her posture sagging slightly. Whatever proof she had, she wasn't producing it now. Boone began to wonder if she was telling the truth about Maddox. I thought so, Wallace said. Pack up, Mississippi Lane. Wait, Boone said, surprising himself. What if I let her stay? It's my property now. Wallace's eyes hardened. That's unwise, Carter. Miss Lane's got a history of trouble. The last man who showed her charity lost his barn to a fire. That's a lie. Cora snapped. Samuel Hendricks was drunk and knocked over his own lantern. You just needed a scapegoat. Point is, Wallace continued, some people attract misfortune. Start fresh, Carter. Boone read the undercurrents, old grudges, buried secrets. The sheriff's urgency to remove Cora felt personal. I'll need time to consider, he said carefully. Wallace's hand drifted to his gun. Miss Lane's out of time. She leaves today, or I remove her. Boone stepped between them, his decision firm. She stays until I say otherwise. This is my property, and I'll run it as I see fit. Wallace's face darkened. You're making a mistake, Carter. He mounted his horse. That deed's legal, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Ask Mississippi Lane about her father and why he really lost this place. The sheriff rode off, his men following, leaving a heavy silence. Cora's hands trembled as she gripped the railing. You shouldn't have done that, she said softly. You don't know what you're in for. Then tell me, Boone said. Start with your father. Cora sank onto the porch steps. My father was Thomas Lane. He built this ranch from nothing, but he had one weakness, trusting Sterling Maddox. Maddox swindled him into a fake cattle drive, took our savings. When Papa confronted him at the bank, things got heated. He grabbed Maddox, who fell and hit his head. They said Papa killed him, but it was an accident. Boone's stomach churned. What do you mean, they said. Cora's eyes darkened. Sterling Maddox didn't die that day, but everyone thinks he did. The man you played poker with wasn't Sterling. It was his brother, Cyrus. The revelation rocked Boone. The deed felt like a lie in his pocket. If Sterling's dead, who's Cyrus pretending to be him? Cyrus took Sterling's identity to access his accounts and sell his properties, Cora said. Sterling had debts across the territory. Cyrus used his name to dodge dangerous men. Then this deed's worthless, Boone said, his voice rough. Not exactly, Cora replied. Cyrus legally owned the ranch, Sterling left it to him. But that will was forged. Sterling was my father's half-brother. This ranch is mine by blood and law. Boone reeled. Cora wasn't a squatter, she was the rightful heir. You have proof of this? Inside, she said. Birth certificates, letters. But if I show you, I need your word you'll help me get justice. Before he could respond, more hooves echoed. 6 riders approached, moving with predatory intent. Get inside, Boone told Cora, his hand on his gun. I'm not hiding, she said, standing firm. This is my fight. The lead rider, Vincent Kane, reined in his horse. A scar ran from his ear to his mouth, and his clothes screamed money-backed violence. Carter, you have something that belongs to my employer, he said. This ranch was promised to us. Cyrus didn't own it to promise, Cora shot back. Kane's smile was cruel. Your father cost us when he killed Sterling. The debt transfers to this property. Boone noticed more riders on the horizon, 6 more, moving with precision. Kane frowned. Those aren't my men. The new riders were federal marshals, their badges glinting. Vincent Kane, their leader, Marshal Davidson, called, "You're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and theft." Kane's men tensed, hands on weapons. Davidson revealed they'd been tracking Kane's crimes, including Cyrus's impersonation of Sterling. Cora stepped forward, offering her documents to prove her claim. Davidson examined them, nodding. "These look authentic. You'll have a strong case in court." Boone's deed was worthless, his victory a fraud. As the marshals prepared to leave, Kane drew his gun in a desperate bid. The yard erupted in gunfire, over in seconds. Kane lay dead, his men surrendering. Cora spread her documents on the porch, birth certificates, letters, a will proving her claim. Davidson confirmed their legitimacy. Boone, his dreams of ownership shattered, felt a strange relief watching Cora's hope ignite. "I'm sorry you were cheated," she said softly. "Maybe I deserved it," Boone admitted. "I've taken plenty from poker tables. Maybe it's time I built something honest." Davidson advised Cora to file her claim and told Boone he was free to go. As the marshals rode off with their prisoners, Cora touched Boone's arm. "This ranch is big enough for 2. If you're serious about starting over, I could use help rebuilding." Boone saw opportunity in her eyes, a chance to be more than a gambler. "I'd be honored," he said, meaning it.